Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. My guest today is a judge and a specialist in artisan-made products. What started as a passion quickly turned into a full-time job for Nancy Conway. We chat today about the love that goes into French food and how you can bring it to your own home in easy, simple ways. So welcome to the show, Nancy. I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you, Crystal. Thank you for having me.
I've been doing my homework on you, and I see that you went from like business career, corporate, private banking in Paris to now teaching people how to cook in a French way, in a healthier way. You're judging food competitions. You've become kind of an expert in French culture with food. Talk a little bit about how that happened.
Well, you know, it's really ironic because I grew up on Swanson TV dinners and Twinkies.
Oh my goodness. How are you still living?
Yeah, exactly. My parents were working. My mother was doing graduate work at night. So nobody had any time to cook. So everything I ate was pre-prepared. So you can imagine when I came to France and I noticed how wonderful the food tasted, whether it was in, private homes I was invited to or restaurants, even the student canteen, because I originally came here to study. Even the food there was great for me. And I was trying foods I never would have tried at home because everything tasted so good. It was beautifully presented. So when I finally started working in Paris after I graduated from school, I took a few cooking lessons at night during vacations, and I learned that there were a lot of specialized artisans that made foods and products that were only bought by, they were suppliers to the top restaurants or top hotels. And that sort of piqued my curiosity, and it became a sort of game for me, a sort of treasure hunt to seek out their addresses and try to order from these top food artisans directly,
I love that.
It was like a game. So in fact, for over 20 years while working, I collected these addresses of these top artisans. And what I was trying to do was trying to recreate at home that sort of food magic in my working girl's apartment that I, noticed when I go to very nice restaurants or beautiful homes where the food was so well prepared. I wanted to have a little bit of that magic at home. And one day I was at a dinner in someone's house, and one of the guests told me that information would be valuable to people. So I started my blog about how to bring these type of products into one's home and to use them to create simple and delicious home-cooked meals instead of relying on packaged food, instant food, the stuff I grew up on, or on takeout food, home delivery all the time. And what I really noticed observing the French is that you don't have to cook a fancy meal, but if you start with great ingredients, really good quality ingredients, you don't have to do much to them to make a dish taste delicious. And this is what I speak about on my blog, to lean on those ingredients, to have a really well-stocked pantry with high quality, well-made artisanal ingredients. And you'll look like a genius in the kitchen, really. You can prepare very simple dishes quickly, and they'll taste delicious.
And when you think of your pantry, like I learned this for living in France too, and I'm wondering if this is what you mean, like getting that fine mustard, getting that fine pate, the sauces, things like that you can just easily add to like a base and then make something taste 10 times better.
Right. It all starts, just one example is salad dressing. Most of the French make their own salad dressings, and they have a very, very good oil. Savvy French cooks have a very good oil, very good vinegars, very good seasonings. And actually, I should say oils, plural, vinegars, plural, because they don't just have one oil. They usually have a selection. And I go through this on my blog, the different types of oils and vinegars and how you can mix them, match them, and make different sauces every night, different vinaigrettes every night. This is what I do. I live this sort of every day. And it's funny, when I travel and I rent an Airbnb place somewhere, I bring along all my oils, vinegars, spices, everything. I mean, my suitcase with my pantry ingredients is as big as my suitcase with my clothes. So
some people bring their pillow, you bring your oils.
Yeah, I bring my walnut oil, my olive oil, my pistachio oil, my raspberry vinegar, you know.
And you mentioned you were tracking these down. It was kind of like a game for you to find out where these restaurants were getting like the best of the best. Was it hard to track down these artisanal makers, or how did that work exactly?
Well, in the beginning it was because when I studied at a cooking school, I went briefly during vacation time to the cooking school at the Ritz Hotel in Paris. And of course, everything there, you know, you cook in copper pans. Everything is just top notch. And so, of course, the first thing I did was ask them, you know, who are your suppliers? And can I, you know, and of course they said, you're not giving any names. And of course, that was like showing red to a bull. You know, I was even more determined after that, but they wouldn't give me any names. So really what I did was, you know, I'd watch the press, any articles that came out in the press. In restaurants, however, you know, when I'd go to a good restaurant, I'd ask them, where do you get your olive oil from? Who supplies you in this? Who supplies you in that? I'd watch, you know, any reports on TV. I would attend any markets, any fairs. And so my collection started that way, you know, following these people, any sources of information I can get.
And once you found them, I'm sure I feel like the French are really proud of these things. They want to share this. I don't think they're trying to keep it a secret, are they?
Oh, no, they aren't. Not at all. But I mean, some hotels might be, but
yeah.
But no, the artisans are they're very proud. I mean, that's the whole reason behind this competition that I judge for, is to encourage these people, to encourage excellence. And
let's talk about the competition a little bit, about judging. That sounds fascinating.
It is. It really is. It's very moving. I've been doing this for about 7 years now. It's called the Concours Général Agricole, and it's part of the Salon de l'Agriculture, which takes place every year in about February, the last couple of weeks of February. And the Concours Général Agricole is a competition within the Salon de l'Agriculture. It only lasts about 4 days for my particular division. There are 3 divisions. There are the animals, the breeding stock, but not only breeding stock. There are the draft horses, breeding stock, meaning farm animals, that are raised for their products. But there are also animals like the draft horses that are indigenous to France, like the Percheron. And people know the Percheron. There are other breeds. And then you also have domestic animals. So there's the animals division. Then there's the products division. And then the last division is the it's a more recent division. It's called the agroecological practices, prairies and agroforestry. And
that's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is. And it doesn't really take place during the Salon de l'Agriculture. The judging is at different dates outside of the dates of the Salon de l'Agriculture. And it's, you know, in different regions in France where they're judged about how they manage the land and et cetera. But the products division I'm in, that includes wines, of course, but it also includes other things like foie gras. It includes animals that have already been prepared or slaughtered, like duck or chickens. It includes olive oils, walnut oil. It includes vanilla bean from Tahiti. Tahiti is a French territory, so vanilla beans from Tahiti are considered a French agricultural product. It's another product I've judged is Piment d'Espelette. which is a spice, a chili pepper spice that has it's one of the only spices in France that has the AOC, the Appellation d'Origine Contrôlée denomination. So it's a protected designated origin product.
Oh, that's interesting. I was wondering about what that meant. The AOC is, what are some other products in France that are protected like that? So it basically means like it's this region, they have to do it a certain way, and they're kind of protecting that type of food source.
Yes, it is. It's a sort of marriage of the region, which is the soil, its climate, its exposure to sun and all the elements. And it's also the marriage of the artisan's techniques used to bring that product to its best state. So it's a marriage of the climate, the soil, the region, and how the artisan harvests and treats and processes that product. So it's those two things, and it is there are several things. I mean, wines, of course, are a product that has that protected designation of origin. Olive oils, there's a walnut oils. Certain walnut oils are protected. Piment d'Espelette is another product. So there are quite a few products.
It's so interesting. I mean, I love how France takes food so serious. And I also love how you snuck in to be like a judge in like such a French thing. Like, how did this American woman come be like, I'm going to judge your food in France?
Well, actually, I'm French now, but still, I have a double nationality. But at the time, I didn't when I applied. And I think when I filled out the application and I told them how I'd been using these products that had been awarded either the gold, silver, or bronze medal of the Concours Général Agricole for 20 years, that I've been collecting addresses, that I was starting a blog on this, that caught their attention.
You knew your stuff. You're passionate.
Well, there are two types of judges. There's the professional judge and the amateur judge. I'm an amateur judge, so I'm considered a consommateur or consommatrice avertie. I'm not a professional. The professionals, they're really impressive. They're involved in, let's say, vanilla from Tahiti for 30 years. I mean, I've judged with someone who for 35 years did nothing but export vanilla from Tahiti. So they're really involved in that one domain. And each judging table is built with half of the judges are professionals and half are amateurs. So
I like that. It's a nice mix.
It's quite interesting. One funny thing I learned when I was judging olive oil is that you never judge an olive oil by its color. Did you know that?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, I remember many, many years ago when I was a student and I was driving to Italy. I arrived late one night in Lucca, Italy, and the last restaurant open served me a bowl of ravioli with chopped tomatoes and basil leaf on top. The Italians can do such simple things, and it's like I'm still talking about it today. And the waiter came and drizzled olive oil over this dish. And I was sitting outside on a veranda. It was 10:30 at night. And I looked at the color of that olive oil, and it was a deep emerald green, and it was the best olive oil I've ever tasted. And then I learned that the color of the olive oil has no bearing on the taste.
That is so interesting because, it always comes in these glass bottles. You look for the specific yellow, and there's all this like controversy around fake olive oil and all this stuff. Now, it's so if it looks a little funky, it's okay.
Well, not necessarily, but I know in the judging at the Concours Général Agricole, we judge the olive oils in they're deep blue glass cups or jars. And that way they've blocked out the color so it won't influence the judging.
Yeah, talk about that process a little bit. So you're sitting there and these artisans come up to you and they're like, here's my food. And do you get it like in a recipe or you get it just purely as it is? Like, how does it work?
In the competition?
Yeah.
Well, what happens is the artisan says he wants to submit his olive oil to judging. And someone will come either from the Chambre de Commerce, local Chambre de Commerce, or from Paris, and they will come and say, which lot is it that you want to submit? And they'll say this one, and the guy will, or gal will choose a sample, and he'll seal it on site. And he wraps it, and he seals it. There's a red seal, it's a wire, and the artisan has to then ship it to Paris for the Paris judging. And then it arrives in Paris before the Salon de l'Agriculture, and it is unwrapped. It's then taken out of its original bottle, and it's put in a bottle that is numbered. So there's no way any judge can tell, where it came from, whose olive oil it is, etc. Same thing for anything else. They're all banalisés, as they say in French. Everything is all details of origin are erased, and just a number, a code is presented. So when the judges arrive at their designated table, we're in this huge space, and there are a couple of thousand judges in there every morning. We start early in the morning and finish just after noon for 4 days straight. And you go to your table and you sit down, and the bottles or the samples are already there. They've already been brought out. They're all numbered. You can't tell where they came from or whose they are. And what you're doing is you're not looking for, let's say, an olive oil. You're not looking for what pleases you, what you think is the most delicious. What you're doing is you're looking for the profile of that olive oil. Does it represent at a very high level whatever that terroir is? And that's the most important. So it's not your personal opinion. For example, if I'm judging olive oil from Les Baux de Provence or from Nyons, for example, it's not my personal opinion. Do I prefer this or do I prefer that? I'm looking for the characteristics of, let's say, the olive oil from Nyons, which is made with a certain olive called the Tanche. And it has a certain flavor profile. There are green apples, fresh cut grass, hazelnuts, almonds, melted butter. Does that sample represent at the highest level, excellent level, that terroir of Nyons? Is it the highest expression of that? If it does, then it's a gold medal. If it's very, very good, but still has a little progress to do, it's a silver medal. And if it's a very good, but still has a little more progress to do, but is on a very good path, then it's a bronze medal. And if it doesn't meet any of those criteria, if it doesn't express the flavor profile, the identity of that terroir for that product, then it doesn't get a medal.
So that's so fascinating.
Yeah, and the funny thing was, the first year that I was judging, the first product I ever judged was a walnut oil. And the ladies I judged with, one of them was a representative of a Chambre de Commerce. She was a professional in the Perpignan region, and she was friends with the lady who was judging foie gras. And so after everyone finishes judging, all the judges kind of chit-chat and change tables and says, how was yours? And what was this? And the lady from the foie gras table came over, and she was a professional judge. And she said, there are no gold medals this year in foie gras. Nobody got a gold medal in foie gras. So that means that the production that year was not very good. And for different reasons, it could be, they had...
Yeah, because it makes you wonder. I mean, it's environmental too. If it's a plant or something like that, it could be the soil or the rain or whatever. So it couldn't be completely their fault. But that's so fascinating that they don't want it to be like the best by your taste. They want you to know the region's taste and be the best of that. That seems very French to me.
Yeah.
You must have... Oh, what were you saying?
I was going to say, it's not like the Olympics, where even if everybody has a bad day, someone's going to leave with a gold, silver, or bronze medal.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes nobody gets anything.
Yeah.
So you must have been extra scared of COVID then, because if you lose your taste or smell.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I haven't had it at all. I've been tested. But that is pretty scary. And actually last year was the 150th anniversary of the Concours Général Agricole, and we finished our 4 days. I think it was 72 hours before they shut down the Salon de l'Agriculture early. I think they shut it down 2 days or 3 days early. Wow. So we got in just under the wire.
That's crazy. So you did get to do the 150 years and you were around thousands of people and you didn't get COVID. Yay.
Well, yeah, amazing, amazing. Must be all those vitamins I take and all that good
Yeah.
food.
All that French cooking.
Yep.
So talk about some of the differences between how French food is made versus American food. I know we have a rep for being very processed in America. So do you believe like France takes out a lot of that processing of the food? Things don't last as long. Talk about some of the differences in how things are made.
Well, I think, you see it, as you've probably noticed right away. The French, a lot of the French, especially in the big urban areas, they do a lot of their shopping several times a week. They're buying fruits and vegetables once or twice a week. They're buying meats. They're going to their butcher. Already, a lot of the stores are still, separate. There's a guy who's specialized in meat and pâtés and butcher, and then there's the guy who's specialized in fruits and vegetables, the primeur, and the guy who's specialized in bread. He's the boulanger, and you go and get your bread fresh every day, or almost every day, and it's a different rhythm. Whereas Americans, oftentimes these this has all disappeared. I remember my grandmother, who was from Virginia, how upset she was. I was about 11 at the time, and she was complaining about how all her small merchants were disappearing and everything was going into these big grocery stores. And she liked to chit chat. I mean, she was from the South, so, you don't just go in and buy your meat from the butcher. You have to ask, how's the family? How's your daughter doing?
It was social, yeah.
Yeah. And so she was very upset about that. And at 11 years old, I couldn't understand what was the big deal. I just said, oh, gosh, I was eating Twinkies and Swanson TV dinner. So,
what did you know?
Yeah, exactly. I was clueless. But now thinking back, I wonder if she didn't plant the seed, that this grocery store stuff was not as good as what came from her specialist, purveyors. And in France, you still have that, so that's already a different, right off the bat, just in the shopping. And then, what I noticed with French home cooks, savvy home cooks, is that they have, they lean on ingredients. They use a lot of fresh herbs. They don't use dried herbs. I speak about that in my blog. I did a blog post on each. I took about 4 or 5 herbs and did one on each one, which ones you can use dried and which ones you really need to use fresh. Like, don't try to dry them or freeze them. Dried basil, for example, for me, it's a disaster.
It's kind of disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like useless. Don't bother. It's you won't taste the basil that much. And in American kitchens, a lot of this stuff. I mean, some people are starting to really look into this, but when I was growing up, a lot of it was dried chives, dried basil, dried whatever, and it doesn't have that flavor punch. It also, nutritionists would say, it doesn't have the nutritional value. That the fresh stuff does. So I think the French put together, now I'm talking about weeknights, Monday to Friday, they're going to put together much more simple meals, but they're going to use whole ingredients and not so much the pre-prepared frozen food or pre-prepared sauces that come in a can or a box and you just add hot water. And that's the big difference. Now, some French are starting to go that way.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because France is changing. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but, the McDonald's and the Starbucks and the KFC and more it's popular to do the American thing. Do you see that as well in the food industry? Like, do you think it could ever be completely phased out, like what they're doing now?
Well, the food industry has to expand, and they're winning new clients. They've got, a lot of influence, but you're seeing it. I mean, I noticed it in my neighborhood when I first moved here. There are there's a shop called Picao where they have all the frozen fruit, frozen vegetables, frozen fish. And I noticed going into that Picao, the back wall, there was a small section of the back wall of the shop, maybe a third of the back wall had, different meals like, a Japanese meal, a Mexican meal, an Indian meal. These are pre-prepared frozen meals, that were all ready. And that was the back third of the wall. And then the other part was, other things like frozen vegetables, frozen fruit. Today, 10 years later, that same shop, that same Picard frozen food shop, that entire back wall now is pre-prepared dinners and meals. So that has completely changed. And so, yes, the French are adopting more ready-made foods, pre-prepared foods. And it's showing in their health statistics also. There's
really?
Yeah. Problems, weight problems are starting to become more prevalent. Health problems are starting to become more prevalent. So, that, and ironically, it's in the United States where there is a lot of health problems related to lifestyle and food that they're starting to really, emphasize eat whole foods, cook,
like the opposite.
cook your own meals. Exactly. So it goes to show that this lifestyle that the French are known for around the world works. It really does work. And even if they abandon it, they'll have the same health problems as other people in the world. So it's sort of a test to its, validity.
Yeah, I really hope they hold on because that's one of the things I really loved about moving here and discovering. I mean, my family laughs at me because I actually like to cook now. I actually can cook now, which is something I could never do in America. Like since the quarantine, like my new favorite thing is making meals. And we just signed up for HelloFresh. And like, that's the most exciting part of my week now. It's like making these new recipes because I love how it's just all in a package and it's all, fresh ingredients. I can just make it. I don't have to hunt down the ingredients and all that. So yeah, I feel like moving here has been like you, it influenced us to change our eating habits and change how we cook. But I hope they continue that. It scares me to think that would change.
Yeah. And, I think it's great. It's, HelloFresh is wonderful. And there are so many ways to cook something simple, and there are ways to get around. There's batch cooking, that actually something I think that started in the States that's coming to France. There's people really, French people also, they're busy working. You have two earners in a household. They're both working. They're tired when they come home. They have two hungry kids. They're not going to start making a fancy meal with a fancy sauce. That's why I try to emphasize on my blog, simple, healthy cooking, lean on those ingredients, keep it simple. Because most of our eating happens between Monday and Friday.
Yeah.
Saturday and Sunday. Okay. You can, do a little Top Chef, magic in the kitchen, but most of your meals are Monday to Friday, and Monday to Friday, people are tired. They come home. It's late,
Yeah. They just want to eat something and be done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and what you emphasize is there are ways to do it well and healthy still and do it quick.
Yeah. And I mean, the thing that I preach is, start by getting good ingredients. You won't have to do much and it'll taste good.
Yeah, I completely agree. Yeah. I've learned that the hard way or the easy way. I don't know. And so talk a little bit about why you think creatives are attracted to Paris. Obviously, you've found your creative side. You went from this business banking lady to creatively with food and selling, the idea of how to cook and things like that. So why for you do you think creative people are attracted to Paris?
Well, I mean, what attracted me was the aesthetic sense of the French in so many areas, whether it's food or fashion or architecture, decorative arts, their attention to detail and their quest for beauty and excellence in so many areas, that really fascinated me. But I think what really hit home was what I've learned from them that I didn't have back home is the idea that beauty matters. It's not superfluous. It makes life better. It makes life worth living. it enchants the human soul. That's really important, whether it's the way a city is laid out, the way food is presented, that matters. And I didn't have that growing up. I mean, I grew up in a very much a culture of, it emphasized practicality, functionality, efficiency, quicker, bigger, cheaper.
Did you grow up in Texas?
No. New York.
Okay, there we go.
The Empire State. So, that was a great lesson. And I know you asked me what was my favorite book, and I mentioned The Greater Journey by David McCullough. And one of the passages, he profiles so many prominent Americans that came to Paris in the 19th century. And one of the passages that fascinated me was when he wrote about Harriet Beecher Stowe.
Who was that?
Yeah, the author of Uncle Tom's Cabin. And she came to Paris to escape. I mean, I think she was on a world tour promoting her book, and she came to Paris to escape a lot of the noise and excitement around her book. And she was received by Americans here. But she was walking through the Tuileries Gardens one day, and she noticed how beautifully dressed the French women were. And she noticed how beautifully laid out the gardens were, and the perspective up the Champs-Élysées to the Arc of Triumph was, and how all of that was planned to be beautiful and attractive and attract the eye outward, out through the gardens, over the Place de la Concorde, up the Champs-Élysées, over to the Arc of Triumph. And she said, that's when she said, beauty is important. And when you think Harriet Beecher Stowe, I mean, this was the daughter of Lyman Beecher, one of the prominent preachers in American history. Her brother was
So beauty should be emphasized. It should be just very simple and godlike.
Exactly. Very, no frills. Her brother was Henry Ward Beecher, I think. And this was a very serious, down-to-earth family. And here she was admitting, beauty is important. It matters. And I thought, wow, if you could convince Harriet Beecher Stowe.
The whole world. Well, it feels like that's been a common theme with people I've asked this question on the podcast. It's true. It's the beauty, but the way you just described it, it's interesting because it's true. It does matter. It's not just like frivolous. It's not just, beautiful, whatever. It kind of awakens the imagination and then can lead to other things for you.
Yeah. And I think that's what attracts creatives to Paris, in my opinion.
I like that. That's a great answer. And so you went to a business school, a prestigious business school in France, and now you've kind of used that and you've started your own kind of creative business. So what advice would you give to creatives who are trying to start their own business? Like, do you have some business advice from that side of things?
Well, business advice, the creative advice, I would say, first of all, is to, observe what brings you joy. And what you get lost doing, and also what gets you angry, what gets you pissed off.
I like that.
Yeah. And what fascinates you. And then, the intersection of, what brings you joy, what gets you pissed off, and what fascinates you endlessly, that intersection is probably your something to create.
I like that. Yeah. And the pissing off part, does that mean you're passionate about changing it or that you're angry so you should go do it?
Yeah, you're angry. Well, it could be, you choose. Might be something you want to change. It might be something that's not there that you think should be. That's for the creative to choose. But I would also say, keep a notepad by your bed. With a pen.
Okay.
Some of your best ideas are going to come to you when you least expect it, and they're going to flash through your mind, and if you don't capture them and you think you'll remember them 5 minutes later after you go through your emails or scroll Instagram, you're going to lose it. So I would definitely reflect on those things, what brings you joy, what pisses you off, what fascinates you, and then also note down your ideas, find a way to capture them. you know?
I like that. I think that's great advice because like you said, that happens to me all the time. I have this idea and I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. And then like you said, you just walk through like a doorway and you're like, what was I doing? You just
Exactly.
You totally forget.
You're brushing your teeth or you're in the shower.
The shower is a great place for ideas.
Yes. I don't know if you can use Siri in the shower, but
don't keep a notepad in the shower. Not recommended. And do you have any future projects you're working on that you want to share, or courses you're selling? Anything you want to share with the audience?
Well, so I have my my pantry checklist, my free pantry checklist that you can download from my website at nancyconway.com. I also have with that a series of videos that accompany the checklist. Those you can purchase. Now, when you download the checklist, I've put in for your listeners a discounted version of these videos if they'd like to buy them. And
Wonderful.
What I do is I go through each of the ingredients on the pantry checklist. I talk about how to choose the best ingredients, what are the characteristics, how to use them, the background information about different artisans. And you also get a PDF that gives you links to recipes and to online sellers of the ingredients on the French Pantry checklist. So I try to make it as easy as possible for people. There's the checklist you can download alone for free, or you can download the checklist and buy the.
Oh, you're giving away the secrets. I like that. Because a lot of these people, they ship to America as well.
Oh, yes, or they can be found on American websites. You know.
Great. We love that. Bring French cooking to the States.
Yes, and I have that in the PDF that's included in the video series. So I try to make it as easy as possible for people.
I love that. We like easy.
Yeah.
We're busy. We're busy with our Instagrams. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today, Nancy. And I'm going to put all that in the show notes so listeners can take advantage. And I hope to try some fancy food with you soon when we're not locked in our houses.
Well, thank you, Crystal. And also, if people would like to join me on Instagram, they can find me at Nancy Conway Paris on Instagram. And there they can have links to all my website and everything else. If they'd like.
Love it. Nancy Conway Paris. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Crystal. It was great speaking to you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.